Today on AfterBuzz TV, we talk about the second half of Season 3 of Fuller House. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
La 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 la.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to AfterBuzz TV. We are doing the second half of Season 3 of Fuller House After Show. We're bringing it back. Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Marisa Serafini. Joining me, I have...
Just enjoy the song a little bit. But I'm Phil Svitek.
There you go. It's a fun song. Everyone loves it. Grew up to it. I really enjoyed this show, and we both enjoyed the show so much that we had to talk about it.
That's right. The question on fans' mind is, whatever happened to the after show for Fuller House? And unfortunately, because it came out in the holiday season, we got left behind. We're not your regular hosts for it. But it was such a crime that me and Marissa said, you know what? We watched this show. We texted over holiday break to be like, hey, did you watch? And she said, yes. So I said, why don't we do it? And we're here. And
here we are. So what were your quick thoughts and impressions of the second half of this season?
One of the big things, so the first part came out, and you and I guess, didn't realize that it was separated into two parts because it leaves on such a cliffhanger. Now, you follow it much more intimately in terms of the behind the scenes. You're like, they filmed in Japan! Why aren't they showing it?
I know.
And I was like, I know, it's 9 episodes. Why would they do a season 3 with only 9 episodes? But no, we got 18. So I'm glad it answered all those burning questions. I think the ending of all of this got a little bit, I won't say silly, but definitely it escaped realism for a little bit. Mm-hmm. and became a little bit more corny, but that's what I love about it, and it was overall just fun. I thought the second half of the season was well earned.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you heard my behind the scenes moments when I watched the first half of this season, and I was actually physically upset and verbally upset. I was like, where is it? I follow everyone. I love Cameron Bure, and I follow the cast members, and I know they were actually filming in Japan because they constantly were, Insta-storying every little detail of their time there filming for Fuller House. And then when I found that the season split before they even get to Japan, I'm like, what the heck? Where are the episodes? I know they're there. So I'm glad that they did break it in half because it did leave on such a cliffhanger that it left you wanting more. And I felt the second half was so much stronger than the first half because I felt the first half, they focused strongly on the men, which is fine, but it got away from the women, the main three. And I liked the second half so much better because it did get back to the, to CJ or DJ, not CJ, to DJ and Stephanie and Kimmy. And those are the reasons why we're watching Fuller House, because it is centered on these three women. And it's fun seeing everybody interact with each other. We got the family. We all know and love them. And it's still fun. It never lost its momentum with the family, and I'm glad we're just bringing it back. So one of the main big storylines for the rest of the season was Stephanie. We know she always wanted to be a mother. She can't really get pregnant. What were your thoughts of her in vitro process, picking Kimmy out of all the candidates in the world? They picked Kimmy to be the surrogate mother.
I think she's a much better choice than Gia,
yes.
Number one.
Agreed.
And I appreciate it because it just brought them closer together where, I have a idea where you're not really friends with somebody until you're able to hang out with them alone. Because when you hang out with them in a group setting, and so, Kimmy is DJ's best friend ultimately, and now that they've been hanging out more and more, they're actually able to be friends. And when Kimmy steps up and does this, that's a huge thing. I would have like to see Jimmy a little bit more because for better or worse, their relationship is going quite well, mm-hmm. And certainly they're making a lot of big decisions that are going to affect a lot of things. They're having a child together, and so I would like to see him a little bit more part of the process, but he was in there enough times.
Yeah, and I like Jimmy. He's a fun, quirky balance towards towards Stephanie, and we did see his moments of like it was his idea for the questions and interrogating all, and you know, is Sasquatch real or not? I think
There's only one answer.
There's only one answer. Think about it. He had his fun, quirky moments, and we also had those real moments with Jimmy as well when she's like, "This is your last chance I'm giving you. Are you really serious and committed to this? Because this is a family. This is a big decision in your life." He's like, "I'm with you 100%. I'm like, "Aw, he's sweet. He's fun. He may not be the brightest, but he's super lovable in that way." And I think this could actually be good for both of them. And I think just the integration of Kimmy into such an important storyline really now, because there's that running joke with Kimmy, she's never been a part of the family. She's always the outside next door neighbor friend who's always looking in on the family. But now when you tie her into the actual story of her being pregnant with Stephanie's child, it actually makes her a part of the family. And you can see all those episodes and moments where she's now getting the respect from the family members. At the beginning, where they're getting the tattoos when they're in Japan, shows the she-wolf pack is back. It's a real thing. To the end episode when Danny actually now hugs her. And it shows that Kimmy has earned her place within that family. And I love it. It builds Kimmy's character.
Well, if you kind of think about it, DJ is really Danny. Stephanie, because she's fun and whatnot, and we always saw that relationship because Jesse obviously, you know, started his own family while being at the house. So Stephanie's really Jesse, and then because Kimmy's the fun, lovable, quirky one, she's Joey.
She's Joey, yeah, and that's why the structure works with Fuller House as the reboot series, because this is the 21st century. We're building more storylines that have strong female characters as leads, and I think it's a perfect parallelism to what we knew and grew up with in the 80s and 90s to now, and it's just a good generation for the next kids and women to grow up to.
Well, especially when this storyline in particular, yeah, we're obviously going to talk about the DJ, CJ, Steve, and Matt storyline, but you know, we've seen love triangles and love stories, whereas this, in particular, I think it's good for women to see, okay, what happens if you can't have a child, you know? And I think that's an important sort of lesson that doesn't necessarily get talked about in mainstream TV, certainly not what I would consider kid-friendly TV.
No, and I liked how they're exploring multiple options in this show alone. We had the in vitro process with Stephanie and Kimmy, but also if you take it back to Aunt Becky and Uncle Jesse, they went the adoption process, and there are ways to build a family, whether it's natural or not, and it's still a family, conventional or not. And I think they do it, and it is the sign of the times. It's more modern, it's more socially acceptable as well, and I think they're doing a great job of easily showing us the many options of how to start a family, and it's actually executed very well. So let's get into the whole DJ, CJ, Steve. There's like a parallelogram going on of what are your thoughts of now DJ and Steve are actually officially together this time?
I like it. I just feel bad for Matt simply because I thought he was a good guy, and you know, he was trying to do all the right things and did in fact do all the right things. So I feel sad for him. Also, just a lot of TV shows tend to go right up until the wedding point. Everything then hits. I feel bad for CJ too. I think she went through. That's. I mean, if you really think about it, it's a horrific thing, and so. You know, we downplay her emotion in all of this because then we come back and it's all about DJ and Steve. But I appreciate that at least in that context, they say, okay, we're going to take a little pause and we're going to wait until we go out on a first date and really let this simmer and not just ride the wave of emotion.
Yeah, and I liked how, because we know it's DJ and Steve, they are endgame. So to have a successful relationship storyline in a show, you have to keep it going. And you have to keep them apart and bring them together and keep them apart. That's what keeps the audience interested and keeps them watching the whole time, because you just want them to eventually end up together. They did have their moments. They had that 1 month quote unquote break from each other. I like that, and it just gives a good writing excuse to not just only focus on the relationship so much at once. But what were your thoughts of now Steve has this Laker offer to take care of the whole Lakers team, but that ultimately splits up DJ and Steve once again?
That's a tough one. It's a great opportunity. It's something that he's been building towards, and obviously there's that comedic bit about Lonzo coming in and being like, "Please, my feet need you."
Yeah.
But I think, I think it's something that he needs to take. To the same token, I think DJ and Matt could find a way to work together at the vet clinic, and I think it's not the ideal picture that they figured. Neither was technically the third first date, but they made that work. And so I think it's just finding the balance in all of it, and just life throws different things at you, but if you can make it work in spite of that, and then it was meant to be.
Yeah, and I'm glad that, yes, unfortunately Matt and DJ had to split up, but they still seem very civil with each other. They still respect each other. The Harmon Better pet care, I'm not sure if that's actually going to work out, but it just shows that they can actually be civil and end on a more positive note. But I did love how DJ was actually very supportive of this new offer for Steve. It was her idea. She's the one who called up Lakers, be like, no, Steve will take the position. So it just shows that if it's as good as a relationship, they can wait. It's worth waiting for. And I liked how they touched upon that.
Absolutely.
So let's get to the kids. Of course, we have to talk about the crazy kids and the families. They're growing up. They're going to high school. I mean, yes, Max is still fairly young and all that, but we have Ramona and Jackson. They're now in high school, going through the throes of teenagehood. What were your thoughts of their stories?
I liked it because they're having to figure things out on their own. Making a leap from middle school, it's always interesting because you go from elementary school to middle school. It's not as big as a macho leap. Whereas in middle school, you're hitting puberty and you're like, ooh, where are the old kids? Where are the macho kids? And then you go into high school and you're the freshman. You're the bottom of the totem pole. It's a whole different feeling. And as far as Ramona's concerned, I found it very interesting. She made the choice to not say dancing isn't my life. Dancing's a big part of what I love, but it's not the only thing I can do. And so she's exploring that, and she sort of gets knocked down there. And yet, over the course of the couple episodes, she finds her way within that, too.
Do you think there's going to be a big story between Bradley and Ramona? Because we have a lot of, opposing sides, but opposites attract. Do you think they'll play that out and actually maybe become a thing?
Maybe, but I to be honest, I don't want to see it, simply because I think he's, to be honest, heinous, and I don't support it.
He's obnoxious, but he's great at being obnoxious.
Whereas Gia's daughter, she's a terrible influence, but at least Rocky. There's a sweetness and kindness there, whereas Bradley, I don't find redeeming qualities to him yet, and I'm sure if we saw more screen time with him, you could find them, but I don't know. Not for me.
Yeah, what are your thoughts of Rocky and Jackson now? Because this is becoming a more mature relationship. They're getting serious. They're making out. And they're making out in front of the family, so it shows that they're getting serious.
It's always interesting because I think it's Jackson's, quote, second love, let's say.
Yeah, right. He'll always be my first love.
And I think in that regard, you're kind of testing things out. And I don't necessarily mind it, and I think they need to go through it. But obviously the fact that he wants to change for her shows that he's not mature enough. If the two of them can be together under the understanding that this is who I am and this is who I am and we're completely different, but hey, we're going to make this is what we want, then by all means. But to have to change grossly who you are, especially at that age, and I think you're meant to experiment and try new things, but it's just a little too much. You can't change the essence of who you are.
Right. And it's actually fun seeing these kids together. You can see they're going through teenagehood and just the peer pressures of society and them in high school and how they aren't the most popular kids, and I understand that. Like, I've been that person who's on the bottom of the totem pole. So I'm glad that they're not in that community already on top, that they know that they're weird. It is puberty. They're going through a lot of awkward phases and awkward moments, and I think it's fun to see them together because they are a fun dynamic, Ramona and Jackson. And heck, you can even throw Max in there, but Max kind of, I don't want to say they dialed him back because he is a lot, but he had his fun moments too. What were your thoughts of Max, of the moments where he destroyed the Mariner, and he had his fun moments this
I think it's good to knock him down back to reality, that obviously he's got a gift and that's great, but you're a big fish in a small pond, and eventually you're gonna have to kind of realize that you got to honor your talent, and you can't just fall back on that and think that that's what's going to get you through life.
Yeah.
In particular, one of the stories, I actually like Tommy, because for so long, Tommy's just kind of been there, but the fact that we get at least a storyline with him, and DJ realizes, I really haven't been there for him and haven't really brought him up, I think that's a good lesson to be learned.
Definitely, and I think there's also a very realistic lesson too, and I love that was a self-reflection moment on DJ realizing it has been a crazy 2 years, and this is an important time in Tommy's life. He needs to be able to speak. He's falling behind just in speaking. Speech delayed. I was actually speech delayed. I'll have you know. Ironic, I know, but it is a true thing. And I did that was a realistic story that people can relate to, and we just know the twin actors who play little Tommy, they're at the point of the speaking, but they're not at the point of where they should be. If you think about Mary-Kate and Ashley, when they were that young, they were actually speaking full sentences. So yeah, it's I did like how he's falling behind, and that is hopefully Tommy will become a bigger character in season 4 when they come back.
If Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen are any indication of that, they are going to be huge.
Oh, I know they are. I mean, look at them; they're doing excellent. So I did like the integration of the kids because they are part of the family, and makes the house fuller. So of course we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the guys, where it all started. We had Danny, Joey, and Jesse all coming back. The dad-iversary. Your thoughts about their returning, where they are actually in life. They're not in the best of states in their careers and their personal lives and stuff, but now coming back to San Francisco. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I appreciate this because it's always a fun reunion. I think it's great to see them, but I think they're better in small doses, so it'll be interesting. The ending point of all of this is that a lot of them are coming back into the fold, so we'll see how that plays out in future episodes, because I was enjoying, them just coming in and out. But what I like most about even just what we saw is it's really now, the kids being the adults. And of course, the kids meaning the adults of DJ, Kim, and Stephanie.
Yeah, and I like that because it in a way, it humbled all the guys. At one point, they were on top of their games, but right now they're I don't want to say lost, but they're just not where they used to be. And I loved how now it's the girls who are well established. They've built their lives and their careers. They're in a better place than the guys are, and it's a nice, I don't want to say power shift, but it's just a character shift of where they used to be compared to 20 years ago. And it's fun to see. It'll be an interesting dynamic of because Danny wants to move back into his old bedroom in the house. It's how it's going to switch up everything. It's going to be crazy, but it's also going to be fun, making the house fuller. So that's basically season 3, unless there's anything else you really want to talk about.
No, they buy the Smash Club. I thought that was a nice added element to it. We'll see how that plays out. And there's a there was a lot of great comedy, obviously, both physical and verbal, and I'm excited to see. It's just great to watch, I think, and great to see it continue.
Yeah, and I loved how there are ongoing storylines with, DJ and Steve. We still have to see this baby because Kimmy is now pregnant. They set up a lot of big storylines for us to still see the end result. And I'm looking forward to it in season 4. As should everybody else. Thank you all for listening. This has been the second half recap review of season 3. In the meantime, Phil, where can everyone keep following you?
At Phil Svitek, and of course follow us here at AfterBuzz TV.
There you go. And you can follow me everywhere at Serafini TV. You can follow all of us here, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AfterBuzz TV. And tune back in for season 4. There's so much more to keep talking about and keep watching. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.